It is Wednesday, March 17th, 2021 at 3 o'clock p.m. and that means it is time for Women in Business. As you can see, or maybe you can't because my camera's kind of messing with the color, but I am wearing my green today, so happy St. Patrick's Day, everybody. I'm really, really excited today because Kylene Montgomery is here and I've been wanting to have her on the show for a very long time. So I'm very, very pleased that we were able to make this happen. And I'm not going to spend a lot of time chattering. I'm going to get right to her bio and we'll bring her in and we will start talking. So Kylene transitioned from her career as a counselor to start WeHeart.Biz about 2 years ago. Since that time, she has embraced her new role as a business owner with her husband, Aaron Montgomery. We all know Aaron. And it says here she is in the final phase, but I know this has happened now. She has become a certified Canfield trainer with success principles. And she also has a very active 9-year-old son named Lewis, who I'm sure some of you have seen in videos. So I'm very excited to have Kylene with us, and I'm going to pop her in right now. Hi, Kylene. Thanks for joining us.
Hi. Thanks for having me, and happy St. Patrick's Day.
Thank you. And you have your green on too.
I found a green shirt.
I feel like we both had managed our obligations to the holiday. That's what
exactly.
I want to say.
I do have some fun socks on too, but I can't show you those.
Well, I have boring socks on. I should have worn I didn't remember that. My 2 regular guys' socks are green. I should have worn those.
Yeah.
I thought of it, but I didn't. And I want to say hello to a few people because it looks like we got Cindy is here. Good windy afternoon. Oh, I hope you're not blowing away. And Missy says, yay, 2 amazing women on one show. I like that. Tanya's here. Good afternoon, Tanya. And Martha is here. So it's nice to see everybody. Thank you for joining us. We appreciate it. There's a lot of stuff I want to talk to you about, Kylene, but the first thing I have to talk to you about is something that I know, and I have to fix my pillow here because I'm too short to sit back in the chair. So
it's all right.
It doesn't work. But what I want to talk to you about is how you got over your camera shyness or your fear of being on camera, because I remember back in the day, back when I was still dealing with mine, you were having similar problems.
Oh yeah. It took a long time for me to agree just to be a guest on Aaron's show. A long time. I had this fear and I had this fear of looking dumb on camera. Like I wasn't going to be able to say the right thing. And really what it was is that fear of being judged or failing in public. And I know it's a real thing. I know a lot of people have shared that with me that they don't want to do these lives. And I guess what really ultimately it was just doing it, just committing to it, do it. And then acknowledge that fear that you're feeling. So I still get nervous before doing these lives. You know, it's always something that's there, but you acknowledge it and then you embrace it and then you just keep moving forward. And the more you do it, the easier it gets. I would say practice a lot ahead of time, you know, just talk to yourself in front of the camera. It sounds really silly, but it's weird talking to yourself in a camera if you're doing a live or any of that. So just getting comfortable in that kind of setting. The other thing I would say is smile. Sometimes just breathe and smile and you automatically will just get in a more relaxed state. That does help. Be prepared. So we were talking a little bit, but before I said I had a few notes. So I would say have like not a script, but have talking points prepared that you can refer to before you do your live. I'm sure you do that as well. When I first started, though, it was like I was going to speech class and I would spend hours writing out my live, like word for word. And I'd have these 4 or 5 pages of just words. And then I would practice them. And it really was, I think I just went back to what I was comfortable with when I was in school. And so I have progressed. I'm down to just talking points with a few sentences. So
all right.
It's getting better. But I mean, I'm sure you would agree with this, but it's just more natural and more genuine, the conversation that you're having when you aren't reading something.
Oh, I agree with that. And I don't type up talking points, but I will make notes on the bottom of the paper I have the person's bio on or whatever that, these are the things I want to talk about. And I also, as I did with you, send an email ahead of time and say, okay, these are the topic areas that I'm thinking I want to talk about. And I was laughing earlier when you were saying you used to get so nervous, because I still have. At some point the day before the day that we're going to do one of these, there's always a moment in my day when I go, maybe I should just cancel it. Maybe I don't really
I love
need
your
to
honesty.
Maybe I don't, and then I go, no, it's going to totally be worth it when we do it. But there's that moment of exactly what you said. Maybe I'm going to be stupid. Maybe I'm going to fumble when I'm producing something and put up the wrong graphic or whatever, or, maybe I'm going to ask a dumb question or whatever it is. And the thing and it's exactly what you said. You just got to do it. You just got to do it. And that will, and we have a Facebook user here, which I'm going to put up the StreamYard.com/Facebook. We all know this, but if you're a Facebook user, go there and they will. But I like this. I don't know who Facebook user is, but the comment is, I did my first live last week. The fear is real, but not so bad after you just go for it. And I think that is totally true.
Yep.
That you just have to kind of bite the bullet and keep going. And
One thing I wanted to note on that is I had been doing regular lives with WeHeart, and then I just got in my own head thinking what I was sharing people didn't want to hear. And so I stopped for a while, and then I had to go through all those same emotions again to get started back up. And so I would encourage people, once you start, just keep moving forward, and you're just going to keep getting better, so you don't go on that cycle of the emotional roller coaster.
Well, I have to laugh because I did the exact same thing. I started doing the show and then I quit for a couple of months because I just got in my head about how I looked and what, did anybody care? And was I just talking to air or whatever it was? And I really got in my own head to the point where it was like, okay, stop it. I need to, and exactly the same thing you said. And then I finally went, no, I think this is important enough that I need to get over myself and just do it. And I know I saw you're doing Thankful Thursdays now, which I love that concept. And I think it's really great that you're focusing on gratitude. Thanks. But that's just you, yes?
Yeah. I mean, I will have guests on. So if you would like to be a guest sometime, it would be wonderful to have you.
I would love that. Let's talk about that.
Yeah. I mean, it's just, I needed to have that connection. So like as a counselor before, I loved my one-on-ones with people, and I loved just connecting in that way. And then coming to work from home, I really was missing that connection. And so talking about these things that have a lot of meaning to me, it's giving me that connection and filling me up again instead of doing the businessy stuff, which I like, but it's not the same kind of.
Well, I'm with you. It's nice. And we have a couple comments I want to put in here. Carolyn, of course, says lipstick. If you're going to be on camera, you have to have lipstick.
Yes. Yep. I have mine right here.
And Erin says, yes, Erin, everyone is wearing green, so no pinching. I mean, what you and Kylene do is up to you, but no pinching. And Missy says, that's me. I need to just schedule them and do them, even if I'm hanging with the granddaughters. This is true. I mean, you kind of have to just get out of your own way sometimes, I think is what it is.
Yeah. And the one thing that Aaron drilled into me for so long was you have to be consistent with it. So the same time every week. So then your audience knows to expect you and can join you.
Right.
And so, yeah, whatever distractions are around you, maybe include them in on your live. People love the real stuff.
Yeah, I think you guys have done a great job with that with Lewis, that your son, that, he shows up in the videos and he does little bits of introductions and things. And it's cute. And it's also, I would guess, teaching him a skill and how to be comfortable. And we're not getting away from this. This is only going to be more of a thing, not less. So,
yeah, exactly.
Teach them early.
Yes. Well, I have to give Aaron credit on that one because I, of course, would like, oh, he's not ready. And Lou's just like jumping in the camera. So Lou's just like Aaron.
Well, and I think it's the more kids are less, well, I won't say that because I was kind of a self-conscious kid, but I think most kids are less self-conscious than adults are. So sure. They're more likely to just think that it's fun and not. So, get them acclimated early.
Yeah, for sure.
Let's see. We have more. I love this that we're getting all these comments. Please keep them going. Tanya says, I need to schedule, struggling with being so tired and some doubt. And that's, Tanya, for those of you that don't know, is also dealing with some health issues as I do. And, that can mess with your head too when you are physically tired and then you go, ugh, and now I have to go on camera.
Yeah. But just know, like, we all love you and we're going to listen to you regardless of where you're at. But again, it's just believing in yourself and putting yourself out there so you can get closer to that connection with others and achieving whatever dreams that you have, the purpose behind doing these lives. And for me, it's the connection. And I have to keep reminding myself of that.
Oh yeah, I think that's a very good point, especially with the last year that we've all had, where I was telling you before the show that because of my health, I had to really isolate a lot. And I'm not married, so I live by myself. If I hadn't had you people in the little boxes on camera with me, talking to me every once in a while, I would have been nuts by now. So the connection is very important. And if you can put something out in the world that's helpful, that's even better. So exactly. I would totally agree with that. And that is worth being scared about being on camera and doing it anyway, because I love these. Erin is, I'm laughing because I'm reading comments, but Erin said, Missy, have the granddaughters on. The shows with Lewis are some of our best. I would agree with that. And Martha said, Lewis has no fear.
Very true.
It's true. And Missy said, and now technology is just part of a kid's life. So for them, it's organic to their life. And that's probably a true statement at this point. I mean, especially the last year when kids were going to school on Zoom and doing all that stuff. I mean.
Yeah, it's a totally different way of growing up than how we did. But they just embrace it because it's their normal now. So. Yep.
Yeah. So, and like I said, kids are fairly adaptable. If you present them with a situation and they learn to cope with it because, they're kids. So they don't have a lot of, I think adults come with expectations about what things are going to be. And kids don't necessarily as much. Kids are just kind of, let's try this and see. And if it sucks, we won't do it again.
Yeah, they have that ultimate open mind about the outcome. They just, whereas we complain or perceive and create these fears because we assume that this is going to be the outcome instead of it actually being a reality.
Well, adults, I think, lose the ability to just go, I'm going to try something, and if I fall on my face, I mean, if you ever watch kids playing, a kid will fall over and they'll bonk themselves and they'll go, and then they get up and they, and it's like, okay, well, that happened.
Yep.
And, adults are like, you skin your knee and life is over and you have to go, hide in the corner.
Very true.
I'm laughing. We're getting some major comments here.
Oh,
I'm going to put this up and it's probably going to cover us, but
okay.
Let's see. I love that there are so many women supporting each other. Most of us can relate being uncomfortable on camera. We don't like how we look. We're afraid we'll say the wrong thing. And it is weird basically talking to yourself, but I just pretend it is one of my besties. I figure if they're judging me, they don't matter anyways. Not going to let anyone stand in my way of my own goals. And awesome. I love that. Yay.
That's great.
Yay.
Yeah, I mean, that's perfect. I mean, you don't want that fear of judgment stopping you from moving forward because their opinion of you it doesn't matter.
No. Well, and a lot of the times the people who are judging you are people who would never go on camera themselves. So they're not brave enough to do what you're doing anyway. So, I could say it's not a word here, but I won't. I almost did, but then I caught myself. But so many fun comments. I'm just going to do comments for a little bit.
Okay, go for it.
I struggle with feeling like I'm wasting people's time, but I need to remember they chose to tune in, and that's right. I mean, they're taking the time to watch. Erin says, "Puppies and kids. If we can teach them to share the message, we could just get out of the way."
Oh, that's funny.
I love it. And then Cindy asked, are you still doing your online shop? And that would be this one.
Yes.
And yes, it still exists. So that's one of the next things I want to talk about, because we were talking before the show a little bit about how you, and for anyone who doesn't know, which I would guess is nobody that's actually watching at the moment, but for the purposes of people who might watch later, Kylene's husband is Aaron Montgomery, who is part of the Two Regular Guys and the Half and our Success Group and all that. So you two are probably one of the more visible couples that are working in the industry, because you're both doing things. I mean, we know people who own a business with their husband. Tanya and Jay may be the other one that you see a lot of both of them. But I guess I got to ask, how do you guys balance that? Because that's, Aaron seems to always be doing a lot of stuff, and you seem to be doing a lot of stuff, and you have a son, and Aaron has another son, and, there's how do you, do you have like, this is work area and this is home area, or?
Well, it's kind of all blended into one, if you will. Aaron is one of the most driven people I've ever met. And before working with him, I always knew that, but I never actually saw it all day long. So for me, for a while, it was almost, it inspired me so much, because he has this passion for helping others any way he can. And that inspires me to keep moving forward. But his pace is so much faster than mine. And it's not to say that I just can't learn things as fast as him. He just has that internal drive, and he just goes. So for me, at first, it was kind of exhausting because I was thinking I had to keep up with him. But really, what I learned over the time, sorry, the mailman came. So
that's all right.
Joey was barking. Over time, we've kind of figured out how to communicate. And I'd say that has been the biggest key to making this all work, is Aaron and I are not afraid to have really difficult conversations. And we have them pretty regularly just to make sure we're on the same page. Every Thursday we go to our breakfast date and we go out to breakfast, and that's been
nice.
Yeah, it's just been nice to just make sure we're both on the same page. And Aaron's really good about compartmentalizing. He can keep work at work, marriage, family. And for me, I don't know why, but it's all one for me. If we're having something stressful happen at work, I carry it through everything. And so
Sure.
I have had to work on that part of it. And then Aaron's had to reassure me that they are separate things. And so I would say that has been a challenge for sure. But nothing that if we don't have those hard conversations, we can't get through.
Right. Well, and I think that's a major point that you just said, which is you got to have the conversations, even the ones that maybe aren't the most comfortable conversations. You have to have them because, you don't, if you're not communicating, you're not anywhere. So I would agree with that.
Yeah. The other thing is you have to have your own space. So when Aaron came home full time, he didn't have any outside offices. We tried to share our own home office, and that didn't last very long. So he is now in the extra bedroom, and then he has his studio downstairs, and I have the home office. So we have our own workspaces, and I think that's been nice.
I think that's smart because otherwise I imagine, and this is just me theorizing, but I imagine there could be too much togetherness at some point if you were in the same space all the time.
Yes. Yeah, for sure. And I think for the most part, we found a good balance of that. I can get a little chatty, and sometimes I just chat because, again, it's that social connection. So I might not have anything really important to say, but I'll just go and start talking to him, and he'll look at me, and I know the look now. So now I knock before I just barge in and start talking, because when he's in the zone, I need to respect that. So I think that's been another thing that we've had to work on, is being respectful.
Well, and also the whole thing that he went from having a outside job, and you did too, I think, at some point, and then you both kind of went to having, your businesses are what's supporting the family. I mean, there's got to be a little bit of a couple of nights where you were both like, what did we do?
Yeah. I think that first year for me was those kinds of nights. Just because I was so stuck in my head. I was, so fearful of failing that I was actually not launching or committing to doing anything. I was doing all the easy tasks first and saving those hard ones. And was weird for me because I had, as a counselor for many years, I left my career that I was really good at. And then I went to this, and I'm not very good at this. I have to really work hard to learn it to get to where I want to be. And then with all that additional pressure, knowing that this is what's going to be supporting our family. You better get your butt in gear, and
you better get going.
Yeah. So those have been, some of the more difficult conversations have been around that. So Aaron has really encouraged me to just believe in myself and keep moving forward because, I need to. I have so much that I want to share that I know that will be helpful for others. And then again, it also supports our family too. So
there you go. Well, I think one of the things that I like about the two of you so much as a couple is that you are very supportive of each other, and you don't always see that, So, and I have to give Aaron his moment to comment. He says, our marriage has been amazing because we do have all the conversations. Kylene is brave and deserves awards, etc. But we are both driven to do similar things in helping people find success. And I think that's true. And I also like this comment from Tanya, Aaron and Jay, energizer bunnies. And I think that's true.
I love that. That's awesome.
That's funny. But I just think that, this is something that we need more models of this type of relationship where, because we see it in, sometimes we'll see posts in women in garment decoration where women say, my husband isn't supporting me, or I wish he would, do this or do that, or he's blowing hot and cold on whether or not we should do something or whatever. And it's like, it's hard enough to do this when everybody's on the same page and supporting each other. It's even harder
when you don't have that support.
Yeah, when you don't have that. And, speaking as someone who has struggled with fear of failure for a long time, it helps so much to have people behind you going, you got this, you're going to be okay. And
I think, that's what's so cool about these groups, though, is if you don't have that support at home, you can go to these groups like yours and find those additional cheerleaders that you need to keep moving forward, because ultimately, you don't have control over those other people in your life. They can make it difficult for you, for sure, but you have the control of how you respond to those things and their actions. And that's the hard part, but that is the empowering part at the same time.
Well, and I also think that for some couples, what they encounter is one person starts learning and changing or setting different or harder goals or whatever, and the other person maybe isn't at that place yet. Yep. So you get, I've known couples where one person was not maybe consciously, but almost like actively sabotaging the other person because they didn't want them to change too much because they were afraid that would, blow the whole thing. And it's like, but change is part of, you have to change if you always stay the same.
Yeah. And I think that's where the support is really beneficial. And I do know exactly what you're referring to. I've seen it with some friends as they start to excel in something. Their spouse can, like you said, almost sabotage them. And so that's where really you got to dig deep and change how you respond to that, to take control of your life.
Well, and it circles back to, you also have to have the conversations that maybe are hard conversations, and I'm just loving the comments here. So this is like more comments than we've had from, I love this. Some of my best friends and cheerleaders were formed during 2020. I consider myself so lucky. And I would agree with that. I think I've discovered I had a lot more support than I really knew I did. And that's been wonderful. And then Missy has to say, yes, I always felt like a badass in my previous career. And now I feel like I struggle with being a badass in this career. I do have 100% support from Steve, but sometimes I don't want to take his advice, even when he's right. Well, that can be a problem.
Yes. And I think that's just the natural response, because I have those feelings. For sure, because Aaron really knows what he's doing in this space, and so sometimes I just want to be right, and I just want to be the one to have that great idea and
I get it,
to move forward, and I don't know, it's just like it's acknowledging those fears that you have when they come up and moving forward.
Well, and I think also and Becky mentions this really well. I do a lot of self-sabotaging. And I think that's the other half of this is that, I find myself doing that to me obviously, if I'm the only self I have. So if I'm self-sabotaging, me, but, I find myself building up a fear that I have, or doing something, or, telling myself that nobody's going to care, or no, if I do this thing, nobody's going to care and nobody's going to want it, or whatever it is. And it's like, there's a lot of self-talk you have to do sometimes. And sometimes you just have to admit it and tell your support system that, I need somebody to tell me that this is worth it right now, because I'm not buying it.
Yes, exactly. I found that my gratitude journal and just affirmations and those practices I've added in the morning have really helped get me in the right headspace to start that day when it comes into all those that self-sabotaging. It tries.
Definitely. Well, and I think also, I know one thing that's worked for me is just I focus on the benefit for other people, that I think whatever I want to do is going to, I mean, that's really what has kept this going in some eras of its existence, was me going, this is worth it. I'm getting a message out here and I'm giving a platform to some really amazing women, and that's important. And that's more important than whatever worry I have.
Yes.
So,
yeah.
You know.
Yep. Just remind yourself that you're in that act of service.
Yeah, definitely. And, Becky also makes the point here that my husband is supportive but not involved. And sometimes I wish he took more of an interest in what I am doing with my business. So, there's
Both sides,
a lot. Yeah, there's a lot of sides to this whole thing. I mean, you can have someone who's supportive but doesn't really understand what you're doing and doesn't get the ups and downs and how difficult it can be and all that kind of stuff. So there's a lot of, I don't know, I think it all circles back to what you said earlier, which is communication is important. And Erin is giving therapy in the comments.
Oh boy.
So I'm not going to put it up because it's huge.
Oh boy.
But yay, Erin, keep it up. I like it.
Yeah, good job. No, when you go back to the communication part of it, and, if you do, like, for example, the opposite, where someone they're supportive, but they're just not really interested in what you're doing.
Right.
Have that conversation about how it makes you feel, just going back to that part of it. And then think of a way maybe that you could include them in some capacity that would be of interest for them and you, if that's really important to you.
Right.
I mean, obviously don't do it if it's not that important to you, but it's just.
If it matters. Well, and also I have to say, never underestimate the power of just telling somebody what you need too. And I'm really, really bad at this. So I'm kind of internally in my head, I'm going, really? But, sometimes you have to spell it out, that this is what would help me right now. Please, can you do this?
Yep.
And, that's a vulnerable thing because sometimes they won't.
Yeah.
But I think it's important.
It's really important. And I think for me, at first, when we made this big transition, I didn't know what to ask for. And therefore, I made the assumptions that I should be able to figure this out. Instead of just talking through the feelings, I just internalized it for a long time. And I think that's the scary place to be at, just let it all out and then you can move forward.
Well, I have to put up another comment from your husband just because. Okay. Sorry, I love this stuff. It's changing my life, so I want to help others. Kylene and Christine are inspiring. Thank you, Erin. And please don't quit doing what you're doing. I wasn't picking on you. I was just making a little fun of you because the opportunity arose. But
it's good for him.
Well, and I do appreciate both you and Erin being here, and definitely you allowing us to talk about this stuff, because this is stuff that not everybody is comfortable talking about, and I think this is the kind of stuff we need to talk about more, because there are people, we can just see in the comments here that there are people who are dealing with these issues and maybe they don't have anybody to ask because they don't know anybody that's in a similar situation. So I just love it that we were able to get these topics out there and get some light shed on them. I mean,
because it's not something that, like you said, everyone's comfortable talking about, and you might be in a group of people where that's just not something you do. You don't talk about your feelings, or you don't talk about these issues, and so I'm glad that we were able to share that with
definitely
everyone.
Well, and I think also we need to keep in mind that, Women in Garment Decoration exists, and Business Basics exists, and our success group exists, and all that stuff. So in an online space, there may be groups that you can talk to, but it may not be the same in the real world. You may not be surrounded by entrepreneurs where, I mean, I know when I said I was going out on my own, I had family who went, "You're what? Well, what will you do? Well, what if there's no paycheck? What if you don't make any money?" I'm like, "Well, we try to avoid that."
Yes. Yeah.
But that's not where they operate from.
Mm-hmm.
So they don't get, I mean, they didn't get it. So, and it wasn't that they were not trying to be supportive. They just didn't, their concern for me overtook, yay, you're a rock star, let's go. So.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm very fortunate. I think my family, they have been very supportive. I'm very fortunate for that. I think it was funny when I did leave my career. I was at the VA, and so many people were like, "You're leaving the federal job? Like, how do you do that?
Mm-hmm.
And I just knew that there was more out there, and I loved what I did. I loved the veterans. I loved working with them. It was just that environment, and it could have stayed, and it would have been a very secure job. But I was just surprised at how many people were like, "You're really gonna do that?" Like,
well, I think the mindset is still that, a steady paycheck is the thing. And I'm like, I had a steady paycheck and I was not completely happy, even though I was getting a steady paycheck every couple, I was like, there were things I wanted to do that I couldn't do in the job that I had. Now, going out on your own offers its own set of issues as well. But money has never particularly been, I mean, don't get me wrong, I like money.
Yeah.
But, it's, I don't know. I think it's, and let's be honest, there are some people who maybe don't have the personality or the personality traits needed to become entrepreneurs. Not everybody's comfortable with that.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're not, you're not.
No, it's definitely not for everyone. Those people,
right.
They're happier in their safe place, and there's nothing wrong with that.
No.
It's just if they're saying they want these other things, but they're not willing to do it, then that's when there's that discrepancy there. But
well, this leads me to the next thing I want to talk about, because you've kind of been mentioning a lot of the success principles and the concepts behind them. But this is something relatively new that I know both you and Erin did, where you became, what's the proper title? Success principles trainers?
Yep. Certified Canfield trainer and the success principles.
There we go.
It's a lot.
It is a lot.
But yes, so, that's what it is.
Mean, I know some of this because I went through Aaron's series that he did on the principles and did a very, very long podcast with him at the end of that. So, but for those people who don't know, would you explain, please, a little bit about what a certified trainer is?
Yeah. So I was certified beginning of the year. It was my goal in 2020 to have that finished. And so the whole key to the success principles truly is to get to from where you are to where you want to be by applying these principles in your life. So the way you think, the things you do, and by doing that, you do start to achieve success. It's based on the law of attraction, meaning what you think about becomes your reality. So when you're in that state of abundance, you're going to be able to appreciate all the good things around you, and therefore you're going to keep getting more of that to you. But the other part of that is the action part, and it addresses the fear and how that can stop you from moving forward.
Right.
Asking is the other big part. So for me, it just, Aaron started the training and I was doing it with him. And then I just, inside, I knew I wanted to do it too. So I got certified, and it just went hand in hand with the counseling background. But I feel like this is so practical and hands-on that it gave me the verbiage and the tools needed to share with others so they can live their best life, empower them to make the choices, take that control back in their life so they can have that happiness. So that's why it spoke to me, and that's why it was so meaningful. And that's why I want to share that with everyone. So yeah, it was the success principles came when I was on that roller coaster of emotions, that transition. My identity was completely different, and I started just to have all that doubt and fear and all these feelings that I hadn't experienced for so long. But it also forced me to deal with some of the things that I was able to kind of hide by staying in my comfort zone for so long. So like the fear of what people thought of me, and the fear of being, in front of a camera, or all these little things. It really has helped me deal with that. And therefore I am that much closer to really truly creating the life that I want. And I'm really, really thankful that they came into my life. So that's why I know they work. So I want to share that with other people.
So I know, and I want to talk about it in a minute, but we got more comments here, and I'm loving this conversation in the comments. So Erin says, the breakdown with Christine was awesome. Thank you, Erin. I'm promoting myself now. It is being broken down into 3 parts to be released over at the podcast site in a month or so. Yeah, we did 2.5 hours in that podcast. So
that's awesome.
Let's see. And thank you, Becky. I think you both do a great job, and I love when I get to catch your lives. Well, I appreciate that. That's very nice. But part of the reason I wanted to ask about the Canfield thing too is that you are doing a masterclass called Empowering Mindset.
Yes.
And I'm going to put up the I've got it here, the little URL so people can go check this out. But I have a lot of questions about this. The first one is, how the heck do you plan something like that? Because good Lord, woman. I mean, there's a lot of moving parts to doing one of those.
For sure.
So did you, are there like templates can use, or did you just figure it out? Or
yeah, with the certification you do get access to a lot of his material, so you can change it to make it your own, to fit for what you're doing. Sure. So yes, I could have a ton to talk about. I'm going to keep it down to 2 hours, believe it or not. That's my goal. But I really want to dive into that first success principle, taking 100% responsibility.
Which I love that.
And I do too. I mean, it's so powerful. And then, really diving into the whole E plus R equals O, the event plus your response equals your outcome. And really reminding and using some exercises for people to realize that how much control they have over that response. They can't control whatever happened, but they can control how they respond to thus get closer to an outcome that they desire. So I just think it's so powerful. And so I really want to dive into that. And then we'll be doing some meditations. And therefore people will be able to apply those in their life when they're having a moment where they're feeling really overwhelmed or stressed out or just doubtful, just to get back into that headspace. And then I am also doing my training to become a yoga teacher.
Oh, cool.
Yes, it's always been something I've always wanted to do. So I'm going to incorporate just a little bit of that in there too, so people can move their bodies, and another way to quiet their mind and get into that right headspace. So
I love that.
So it's going to be a combination of that with some worksheets, like exercises, and it'll be on Zoom. And so we'll do some breakout rooms so we can have as close to an in-person feel as possible.
Right. Well, we've got some people here. First of all, your husband is producing for us and putting the URL in the comments, which I think is nice.
Well, thank you.
Tanya says, I can't wait for the class.
Yes, so excited.
Becky said, I'm very excited for and then the next comment down says, masterclass.
Yes, excited to have you.
Well, what I liked about, because I obviously went through and read about it and everything, there's a couple of things. First of all, 100% responsibility. And I want to hit that for a minute, because I think this is one of the things that people who are having issues in their life miss a lot, which is you're responsible for everything that happens. I mean, you see people who blame their childhoods, or they blame, their boss, or they blame their spouse, or there's always a reason why things aren't working.
Yeah, it's that story that they're telling themselves about that event. And it's really just acknowledging that you had that experience, you had that story, but it doesn't have to control you for the rest of your life, or that moment in time. So really, it's a conscious effort to really change that thought process. When you start to have those feelings, so you acknowledge that you're having the feeling, and you change how you respond to it, and you're going to get some different outcomes. It's like with for example, a spouse, you could have that disagreement, or they interrupt you, and you just take a minute and take a deep breath, and then respond, not yelling to escalate the situation. Just respond, could you please give me a moment? And then, oh, okay, everything's calm, nothing escalated. It doesn't have to be this big, difficult thing. It is very simple, it's doable, but it does take a conscious effort.
Yes, it does. But I think the reason, and we talked about this in the thing I did with Erin, so I'm going to keep it a lot shorter here. But this was one of the things that I feel I'm very passionate about, because I feel it really changed my life, because I was one of those people that I had a bad childhood. I had a lot of crap stuff happen to me. And so in my early 20s, I was like, nothing is my fault. It's all everybody else's fault. And the world owes me, lollipops and roses and everything I want. And I actually had a boss who sat me down and said, yeah, you need to fix your head, because this is not right. And once I figured it out, I was like, it's scary as heck. I have to say that, because if you are responsible and you have the power, then all your choices feel a little bit like they have a lot more weight.
Yes, that's a great way to put that. Yeah, I like that.
But at the same time, I think it's also a relief, because if I choose how I react to whatever's happening, then I don't have to be in the fight, and I don't have to be around the people that make me uncomfortable, and I don't have to choose to participate in these things if I don't want to. So,
yeah, exactly. No, you said that very well.
Well, thank you.
I like how you explain that, because you don't, it's like my career as a counselor before. I loved what I did, but I was coming home and I was taking work home, and I was feeling all agitated and irritated, and I could have chose to stay there and continue on and just blame the people I had to work with, that environment, for how I was behaving and where I was at in life. Or I could choose to make a change, however that looked like. And for me, the change was leaving to start all of this. And therefore I get a different outcome. And it is scary. It does have a lot of weight on those decisions, but if you ultimately it gives you back that control. And
well, that's the thing. I mean, and the other half of that too, though, and again, this is something that I talked about when I talked with Erin, but it also totally sucks when you have all the responsibility and something craters, and you're standing in the middle of this mess and you're going, yep, I did it. But that's also powerful too, because if you did it, you can also make the choices that'll get you out of it.
Yep.
If it's the universe or the world or God or whoever it is that's screwing you over by throwing lightning bolts at you or whatever it is. And yeah, I'm exaggerating, but
yeah. No, yeah, you can change your circumstances.
yeah.
Now, it doesn't, and it can happen in so many different moments in your life, and then over time you see this big change that's happened in your life. I just found it super powerful. And so I'm glad I get to share and talk about it with you today.
Definitely.
That's awesome.
And I have to, Aaron's being funny again, but he
Uh-oh.
says, don't worry about the yoga. Kylene is teaching me, so if you can do it, I can do it.
Yeah.
And I have to ask about the yoga because I have to say I love yoga. I'm
awesome.
not very bendy, but I like it.
Yes.
So is this like a class in your community that you're taking to learn to be an instructor? Or?
Well, because of COVID, they have it online, which has never been done that I've seen before.
Oh, that's interesting.
So it's online, and so I'm teaching. They have videos, and I'm going through the series, and then they have practices. So it's all online. I just have to have it done by 2021, so it's certified. If I go past 2021, then it won't be acknowledged as a certified program for some reason. But anyway, then, it's.
So then once you've done that, you could have a studio or
potentially, yeah.
Teach in a gym or whatever if that's what you wanted to do.
Yeah. Well, I hope that eventually I still want to give back to the veterans in some way. And so I would love to do some kind of yoga for veterans to reduce their anxiety or and then have, I don't know, I'm just kind of really big picture, would love to incorporate the success principles in with the yoga. So
I like it.
I'm not exactly, I think the workshop will be my first test to see how it all kind of comes together. But yeah, it's all about, for me, empowering people to make the choices in their life so they can achieve happiness in their dreams. And so I feel like this is one more tool that people could use.
Well, it's an interesting, I think there's a lot in yoga that also fits in with the success principles, because yoga is kind of about mindfulness too, and thinking about, how you're doing the poses and what's in your mind when you're doing them and all that kind of stuff. So totally makes sense to me. But I want to circle back to the empowering mindset.
Yes.
So let's talk a little bit about what if people take this class, what's the experience going to be like for them? Obviously, it's going to be online, but lots of group chats or how is it working?
Yeah, so my goal is not to talk to you for 2 hours.
Okay, well.
That is my goal. So I will have some PowerPoints and things like that, but I'm going to break it up. So we would start with like a meditation and kind of get ourselves in the right headspace so we can take in all that information, and then do some PowerPoints, and then do a hands-on activity. And by hands-on, I mean do a breakout room. So you would be placed with a partner, and then you would be able to do that exercise and apply it and see how powerful these principles are immediately. And then just kind of continue that, and then end it with the yoga at the end.
So kind of get a nice little hit of relaxation at the end, so you go off and
really feel empowered to take control, and not be in that not victim mindset, but in a way that victim mindset of life is just happening to me instead of me creating my own future. So and then they'll have access to the training. I'll send the recording of it, so they'll be able to refer back to it if they have any questions. And I'm super excited. I have wanted to do something like this for a while. I've thought about it I think Aaron found our first note that I've said I wanted to do this. I think it was almost a year ago. And thankfully, see, again, it's that fear can keep us stuck. So thankfully, with his encouragement, I was able to set the date and make it happen. So
now this is happening April 30th?
April 30th at 1 p.m. Central Time. It'll be via Zoom, and it should be about 2 hours, but I can stay around longer if there's questions at the end.
Put the link up there again, just so everybody can see that.
Thank
you. What I really like about this is that you knew you wanted to do something, and I mean, this is a pretty big undertaking. I mean, not like, do you know this? But I mean, this is something that's a fairly large undertaking to plan and figure out and set up and do. And I just love that you're going for it. I think that's amazing.
Well, it feels really right to me.
Okay. That's a big thing.
Yeah, I love the production side of WeHeart.Biz and sharing the personalized gifts. I like that part, but this part really gets me excited. And again, it's that communication and connection with other people that I really like. I just want to see people, achieve their dreams, because everyone's capable of really great things, but sometimes we just get stuck here and we never get to there. And if I can provide some tools to help people get there, then that's awesome.
Well, I love that you're using your counseling background to try to do something in a new way. I think that's how we grow, and that's how we figure out what's important to us. So I like that you're taking a chance.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
And Erin just reminded me in the comments that it's limited to only 30 people. So it is safe and personalized for those who attend. Erin is definitely your best PR guy. So.
Yes, he is. I'm very grateful for him.
Well, I mean, again, it circles back to, it's a great example of how you can support each other and help each other achieve whatever it is that you want to achieve. And it doesn't have to be necessarily spouses either. It can be friends. I mean, I think that's one of the things, not to be too like mushy, but that's one of the things that I really love about our communities that we have, our success group and the women in garment decoration and the decorators community, and all those places where we all kind of root for each other and support each other. And I think that's so important.
Yeah, I think it's really, really powerful. The other thing that I've experienced, so with our success group, they have their mastermind program. So I was fortunate enough to be part of the first one, and I'm still in it. And the group of women in this group, it's just been life-changing for me. And I know I have Aaron, and he's my biggest supporter, but for some reason, having these minds all come together in on me and any issues that I might have and all the different perspectives. And it really, again, is one of the reasons why I'm able to do this workshop, because I've just had so much clarity from their support too. So, so the community again, and the groups, all of that stuff has been really powerful.
Well, that reminds me, I need to send Aaron an email too, because I'm supposed to remind him to do like about 3 things for me. So, and one of them had to do with a mastermind that he said he was doing, that he was thinking I might want to be a part of. So I have to, and we have another, Missy says she's going to be at the mastermind too. So I think that's.
Yep, she's all signed up. And then I wanted to offer your community a discount.
Yes, I was going to ask you about that.
Yeah.
And that would, how do we want to do this? Well, you tell us here and then email it to me, and I'll put it up when I put up.
Yeah, it'll be pretty simple. You just go to the link there, the WeHeart.Biz/EMMC, or the one that you have there. And then when you check out, you just type in Christine. And then you'll get 25% off.
Oh, that's cool.
The workshop. Yeah. I want it to, I'm keeping it under 30 because I want it to be really intimate. I don't want it to be so big and where people would be really quiet and not really take advantage of what the program's all about. Because I know I would be that person when it's so big. I tend to just kind of
Well, and also in a space where you're all together physically, there's a little difference in terms of how you can interact. When you're on a camera and it's Zoom, it's a lot harder if it's a much, much bigger group of people. I think 30 would be about the max. And Erin's producing again.
Did he write Christine on there?
I need a producer, so keep doing. Sorry, producer Pat's still on. Use the code Christine to save 25%. Thank you, Erin. I appreciate it.
Yes, thank you for doing that.
We all know this. But it's hard to believe we're at an hour.
Yeah, that is hard to believe. That went by fast.
Goes fast. So we could go for a lot more, I'm sure, but I think I'm going to say we probably, because you know me, I will go for 2.5 hours.
I know, you can do
it. So I guess I'll ask you, if you, not to put you on the spot, but if you had a thought to end things with today, what would you tell people?
Well, my favorite quote is by Jack Canfield, and it's, everything you want is on the other side of fear. So I think if that's what I could leave people with, that's what I would leave them with, because don't let fear stop you from going forward with your dreams and making.
Well, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, and making the life that you want. Don't get stuck because you're scared.
I love it. And I have to say, knowing where you were at one time and watching you here today, I not to be like patronizing or anything, but I'm like so proud of you. I can't even tell you, because I know how hard this was for you at one time, and you were amazing. Yes. And I love it. And I'm going to pop you out and say goodbye. And thank you so much for being here. I appreciate it. Oh, I love it. I love it. I love it. Every time we do one of these conversations, I just feel like I learned so much, and there was so much good content. And definitely, I'm putting up producer Erin's comment again. Use the code Christine to save 25%. Go sign up for this masterclass. It's going to be good. I'm seriously thinking I'm going to sign up for this masterclass, because I could use some yoga and some 100% responsibility. So use the code Christine, save 25%. Next week is going to probably just be me. I don't know yet. I'm still thinking of a few things, but I hope you'll show up next Wednesday and we can have a chat. And thank you all for being here. Thank you all for the amazing comments. I love the discussion we had in the comments today. You all are the best. I appreciate you so much. And I will see you next week. Thanks, everybody.